There's a whole controversy. If you Google it, you will fall down a wormhole. In the Greek that our New Testament is written in, there's a phrase called Pistis Christou, the faithfulness of Christ, but sometimes it's translated faith in Christ. And there's actually a big controversy because in passages like Philippians chapter 3, depending on which way you read it, it reads very differently. For instance, if your salvation or your relationship to God or your eternity or however you want to talk about it is dependent on you believing in Christ, and also you have to believe the right things about Christ, and you have to believe them deeply, and you have to do something with them. If it's dependent on you, that's one kind of religion. But if the passage is translated that we are saved by the faithfulness of Christ, that's a very different proposition. I'm voting for option B, by the way. Now, I know a Greek scholar, and I've run this past them, and they say the reason it can be translated either way is that it's best translated as both at the same time. That it is faithfulness in Christ's faithfulness. Right? But it gets tricky because if you put the emphasis on you believing, American religion sort of goes one direction. And if you put it on the faithfulness of Christ, some people feel like you've outsourced sort of the commitment and there's not that much of an obligation on you. So to hold these two together is really powerful, that it's faith in the faithfulness of Christ. And I like that. Because the longer I live and the tougher life gets in different seasons, the more I know it has to be by grace. It can't be totally dependent on me. In fact, even if it was dependent on me, I could only believe because faith is a gift that comes by grace. So even the part that does depend on me, also grace. So it is grace before me and grace that covers behind me, a grace that meets me in the moment, and a grace that calls me to be the highest version of myself, the best version of who I am to be. And in all things, it is grace upon grace upon grace. Yeah? It has to be by grace. Because whatever that scale my friend was talking about, whether it's the Hitler to Mother Teresa or the Mother Teresa to Jesus, either way, I don't want to play that game. That feels like a losing game to me. But if it's by grace, and it's not dependent on my goodness or my sincerity or my faithfulness or my personal piety, but that my part that I get to play is that when I receive grace before I even knew I needed it, and I open myself to that grace, and it brings me into a new relationship with God or the divine, and then that grace begins to work in me, and my job is to sort of open up and let it scrub me and clean me and do its work on me. And then after it cleans up the apartment, grace moves in to the apartment and takes up residence. And then by grace, I can serve the world in the way that I'm called to and be the person that I was made to be, and partner with all of you so that our strengths make each other stronger and our weaknesses are covered in grace. And as a community, we are all made better so that we can strengthen each other in hope and then be there for our town in a way that it needs desperately. It's all by grace. I thank God that I got away from that scale thinking and and that I converted to being saturated in grace. As summer comes to an end and you begin thinking about your fall, making plans for the new school year, if you're changing jobs, if you're working in your garden and things are coming, the harvest is coming, whatever it is, I just wanted to encourage you. Invite grace every day to meet you wherever you find yourself. If it's a good day, thank God for grace. And if it's a not good day, pray for grace. And if somebody has offended you, maybe give them some grace. And if you've offended somebody, you might have to ask for forgiveness in grace. So that in all things, we would be rich and overflowing in the good things that God has for us.